what he did. And I've never attempted 160 mobile. 75 was the limit for me. So, and there's a whole special set of difficulties that you face down there, not just with getting the efficiency out of the antenna alone, but just because you're in motion and you see how quickly a 75-meter antenna reacts to overhead wires and things like that, and you'll get knocked off the air on a VSWR trip. That kind of thing takes place. Yeah, I imagine that's greatly exaggerated if you're using a solid-state rig with an amplifier. That situation has got to be that much worse, and then the noise and everything else. And so, boy, I remember those days. That was a big competition that was going on for probably the better part of a year or two. Guys really, making stock eliminator mobile setups, and competing with each other. That was some great times. Back then, for me, that was what I call my heyday. When there was just so much cool stuff going on back then. But I imagine everybody sort of feels that way of the times they were involved. Anyways, I'm sorry, guys. I'm in that phase lock from coffee and morning cathartic, output of thoughts. So, Chris, go ahead. AJ1G in the group. This is N2VJ.
And it's AM. W2GOR.
Okay, K2XAM and W2GOR. Okay, good morning, guys. Before I forget, I was mentioning you to a guy. I was talking on 10 meters yesterday. He's in record production business and sound production business out in L.A. WQ6M, I think his call is, Gordon, and apparently he has done some production for. Who did you do it for? One of your more well-known customers there. Anyhow, I had a very nice contact on 10-meter mobile to the West Coast going up to my son's place yesterday. 10 has been really, really hot. I went out on AM. There's no one. I tried calling CQ on AM, but there was nobody up there. But I could have worked anywhere in the world just about, I think, yesterday afternoon, and I was having very good contacts with the West Coast and the Midwest and all yesterday. Anyhow, Stevie Wonder, that's who it was. He did some production work on the West Coast for Stevie Wonder. And his name escapes me now, but it's WQ6M in the record and sound. Did a lot of movie work as well. Anyhow, good morning, everybody. Jamie, I'd say, it can't get much simpler than half of a mirror mount and one bolt into the, not into the roof rack, but the longitudinal rails that are built into the Volvo. I think I'll set you pictures. I'll send you more. How simple an install can be and clean. And, I just run the feed line up, in front of the lift gate on the left side of the lift gate frame, next to the weather strip, round the shield line right up at the tippy top there, upper left corner. And then the center conductor just goes out like a 6-inch pigtail at the bottom of the antenna on the mount, and that's it. And like I said, that was battle tested on 75 meters with an 8-foot ham stick that I was probably 13 plus feet in the air on the Southern State Parkway on the way to Andes, going through 9-foot overpass over ancient bridges, and it didn't even knock it out of tune. I didn't try to transmit necessarily while I was going through the 9-foot underpasses, but they're indestructible. You don't have to. There's no issues with a big chunk of a big moment up there, a moment arm from a big loading coil. I never have guided them. They just work, and they don't break, and they work fairly good, and especially on 400 meters and up. They're great. When you do all the trade-offs, they're a winner. I don't like the hustlers because of that big weight you got up there that you have to guide, and they get hot. I mean, I have a 30-meter one that I tried, and after about 4 minutes of CQ, and I could see the tuning change as it heated up, and I put my hand on it, it was hot as a pistol. Never have had that on a ham stick, so I'm a big ham stick proponent for certainly on the higher bands, but even on 75 they're not bad. On AM any mobile antenna just kind of sucks. And Warren's what you did mention, Paul, is Warren's one time was on 160 with his mobile setup, and he deployed a quarter wave trailing wire made of a very fine wire behind the vehicle for several miles on 160 until it broke away. But it was like 135 feet of wire being dragged along at 60 miles an hour on the Massachusetts Turnpike, I believe. I don't know how it helped it and didn't help it, but I have not operated underway with my 160 setup. And Paul, this is something you can keep an eye out for. It'd be a big market at Hamfest. The old 2 megacycle marine band Shakespeare Wonder Rods. It's kind of like a ham stick, 13 feet. They're fixed too, and I got one on the back of my truck. You can see pictures of it on my QRZ page. 13 feet of 2 megahertz resonant antenna, and I run it on 160 with a matching network, OLC network, and it works great on 160. It's too tall, obviously. It's 17 feet in the air when I put it fully straight up. But I just drive to where I want to operate from with it tilted down and strapped down over the roof of the Tacoma cab. And then I have it on a lay-down mount, like I'm sure you're familiar with those, the Shakespeare lay-down antenna mounts. So if you want to lay your antenna down if you're trailering or going under a bridge, that's what I got that antenna on. I actually use that for my Webster band spanner as well. Of course, to adjust the tuning on that, the little nerve knob to move the stinger in and out is beyond my reach when it's vertical. But you put it on that mount, it's easy to get it up and down. Anyhow, I think it goes to you, Paul. And yeah, if you're looking for Will Fleming, 2M, so maybe that was why you weren't finding them on the internet. I always thought it was just 1M myself until I just looked them up. Will Fleming, double M in the middle there. And you'd be amazed at how much you two sound alike. Anyhow, over to you, WA3VJB, and then pick up Kevin and Paul, Gordon, AJ1G.
Yeah, let me get these guys in here a little quicker. I don't have too much to say, but I will. Kevin, good morning, K2XAM, and Gordon. Kevin, when you make one, kick it over to Gordon there, W2GOR from WA3VJB. How are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, Paul. Good hearing you in here this morning. I guess after next week, after we do the time change, band conditions should be good for a little while longer in the morning. And I think I was hearing you in the last day or two up on 40. Jamie and I had one of the web SDRs brought up. Can't remember. It was yesterday. Can't remember who you were talking to. You were talking about watches, the different watches. Oh, that was interesting to listen to and so forth. And as Jamie mentioned, I think we both had talked, Jamie and I had both talked a couple days ago about the whole idea of trying to come up with a setup like Steve QIX has, where you're using some sort of either a phone or a laptop or something in the car rather than doing all the drilling and blasting and attempting to do mobile. The poor Texas bug catcher, boy, that thing was pretty beat on its last go around after having fallen off of the car a couple of times and kind of jock strapped back together to make it work one more time. And the poor guy that ended up making the Texas bug catcher, I guess, must have passed away. We talked to somebody at the company that we bought that at and said, well, is there any way we can get some drawings and so forth? And that guy wanted nothing to do with us, because the whole idea being we've got enough of a machine shop that we could have ended up recreating, even if we had a picture of a good one that hadn't fallen off of a car several times. we've got enough of a machine shop that we could probably recreate the whole idea of the Texas bug catcher, but still you're always running the risk of the cable companies, et cetera, that are too low with their cable wires and aren't meeting spec and so forth. Anyways, good morning over to Gordon. And Gordon, good hearing you in here as well this morning on this Friday morning. W2GOR K2 XAM in the group.
All right, K2XAM in the group, W2GOR. Good morning to everyone. We've been listening here. Couldn't sleep anymore, so I turned on the radio and was enjoying listening to everybody. Nothing much here, just a quick hello. We're going to be listening. You've got a big group in here. Great to hear everybody. So we are a captive audience here. Let's see. Who is the channel master?
You are.
I am, okay. CQ75, CQDX. This is W2GOR. Anybody out there?
Well, why don't I go ahead and make my turn here, and then I'll kick it back over to Jamie. Let me check.
Go ahead. Good to hear you, Paul.
Yeah, Gordon, very good. As the sun starts to come up, I just looked out the front window here, and I see the sky starting to brighten. W2GOR and the group WA3VJB making a transmission. Yeah, good all the way around. Jamie, I was fascinated by the coincidence of the antenna getting caught in the V-notch that something previous had hit the bridge and caused. Wow, what a coincidence. And then you had the presence of mind, I presume, to look in the rearview mirror and watch the thing kind of dangling there before it crashed to the roadway. Very good imagery. Very good imagery. And yeah, it must be dismaying to put that kind of work into an antenna, knowing it's going to get shattered somehow or the other, and then having it actually happen. It's like, oh, there it goes. And I had not heard the story of the trailing wire that Warren put on his 160-meter antenna Mobile, 135 feet on the Massachusetts Turnpike. That's a great story. I guess it helps keep people from tailgating, too. And I wonder, I haven't even talked to Warren in so many years. I guess he's still on way down low there on, 630 kilocycles or whatever, as one of the pioneers on that band. And I have one of those Marine Band HF antennas. It's not the 17-footer. It's bigger than the usual loaded one. I think it's about a 10-footer, and it's a Shakespeare. And I have the layover ratchet, too. I can't imagine that ratchet being capable of holding the 17-footer. But I guess it can. It's just a not fiberglass, well, maybe it is. It's a plastic ratchet. There's a metal one, too, that's out there for the boats. But, yeah, since we're in the Annapolis area, the Hamfests down here were being populated by those cast-off HF Marine radios. And I picked one up for like $25 back when they were first inaugurating the VHF FM Marine channels. And, nobody wanted these big old ones anymore. And I still have it somewhere. I haven't had it on the air for 30 years, I'm sure. I also have one of the traffic information system center-loaded antennas that I picked up in conjunction with a 160-meter station we had going at K3RTV. Yes, K3, your silicone seal station, RTV, is the Radio History Society's station about 10 miles from here. And we had one of the Collins on the air, the 300G, and it was, of course, stock with two crystal-controlled channels. I think we had 4 crystals, but 2 channels ready to go. And the museum bought a center-loaded highway information system antenna, the kind you see mounted off to the side of the roads. Tune your radio to 1610. And we had it custom made to 1900, so I could go both low to 1885 and higher up to the gray hair net and get some action. And, it needed a lot of ground radials that we could not permanently install at the museum on the grounds because it's actually owned by a municipal government, and they allow the museum to set up there long term. But we weren't allowed to put radials in the ground because, it was voltage. For crying out loud. You can't have voltage in the ground. So every time we put it on the air, we had to spool out this RG6 that we got cheaply, cable TV coax. And we made a bunch of runs of that to get the antenna to work. And it did pretty well. It was okay. We were on the heavy metal rally with it one year and otherwise put the station on, a couple dozen times in the 10 years that we had the 300G on display there with a little Gates Studioette board and a Crown open reel and an RCA BA6A for audio leveling and that kind of stuff. It was a pretty cool setup. That was the one that was pictured on Electric Radio's cover that particular year for the heavy metal rally that ER was sponsoring. I guess they still do. And, it certainly qualified as a heavy metal rig. Other points? Mark, good to hear you in here from Moorfield. I wonder what your temperature was this morning. We got down to 29 degrees here in the Chesapeake Bay region, which is fairly chilly. Not very nice at all. I don't like cold weather. And then, Kevin, you're sounding good. Nice to hear you on, and I think you're right about the time change. Going to help propagation this far south to keep in touch with you guys up to the north. Jamie, you also mentioned the hill versus valley snow accumulation some time ago now. I wanted to come back to that too. Gary has relocated into Syracuse proper. His place on Onondaga Hill went to Michelle when that all, decrepitated, and he set up shop in a new domestically coupled situation in the town of Syracuse proper. So he's off Onondaga Hill at this time, and has been on 40 meters, you are correct, and also on 75. He's got a Valiant that's been tricked out a little bit, and he's also got a homebrew transmitter with 833s in it that we will hear on hopefully more often. Both of them are proven out. He since has configured his antenna with open wire line so that he can use the same doublet on both bands, so that's good too. Here it comes, Jamie, and I don't remember the order here. I think after you make one, it'll go back to Chris, and then around to Mark, and then to Kevin, and then to Gordon, if you're keeping track of it there. Into VJ in the group, WA3VJB.
2 LJO.
Hi, George. Good morning. Boy, I really feel like I should go to Mark. It feels like he only made one transmission. I'm going to defer and give it to him. WC1X. Go ahead, Mark. I don't want to... Your propagation there. This is N2VJ.
Okay, Jamie. Very good. Yeah, I hear quick fading in your signal, but still strong, which probably means it's going to change soon. Paul, you're still quite strong here. My temperature this morning, Paul, was, what was it, about 30 degrees. And yesterday was 22 degrees, which is a near all-time low for this area. So we had a bit of a cold snap. I think yesterday I got up to about 48 degrees. Unusually cold for this time of year for this area. But the good news is it's supposed to hit the low 60s today, and the next 7 days supposed to be up in the low 60s every day and dry. And I've been busy with antenna work. I put up a hex beam recently at 35 feet, and I put up a 10-meter vertical up on a roof, which works exceptionally well. Although, of course, the hex beam works somewhat better on 10 meters. And I've got a 20-meter 3-element Yagi, mono-beam Yagi, full size, no traps. So I've yet to put that up, but hopefully I can get that up before winter sets in here. But and I've been active a little bit on 40 meters on AM from time to time. I talked to Tim Tron yesterday on 40 during the daytime, which is a bit of a haul from down here up to Maine, but it was a good QSO. Anyway, I won't keep it. This will be my last transmission, and maybe I'll... oh yeah, one more thing, Jamie. Yeah, I remember working you on when you were mobile, and I was always amazed how strong it was. I don't think I ever heard you less than like S9, 10 dB over S9, whether you were in Ohio or other points in the central states, or of course locally in New York, but you were always very strong on AM mobile. Anyway, over to Jamie, I guess, and I'll be listening out. N2VJ in the multitude. This is WC1X.
Okay, George, I'll get it right on over to you. You know, I complain about that situation, but I got 100,000 miles out of that mobile installation. Went all over the country and, survived some real bad winters winter driving, and yeah, it just kept on going. So I got my use out of that installation. It was and it really made the miles go by. Paul, you're absolutely right. Just that Indiana drive is about 14 hours or so. And, just boom, before you knew it, you were out of New York State, and then, yeah, you got into another kind of round table, and then you're past Cleveland, maybe out near Toledo. You wake up again and look around, get something to eat, go to the bathroom, get back in the car, you get into another QSO, and then boom, you're in the Valparaiso area of Indiana. And that's basically what it was like. You checked out. You weren't even in the vehicle. You were this automaton, and you were involved in these great conversations. And one of the guys who I missed, who really coming home was longer than going in your mind, yeah, because you really wanted to get home. And Warren, W1LO, he would hang in with me for 6 hours, 8 hours, because by the time I'd get home it was late at night. But I'd start picking him up in western New York, and New York State's a bigger state than you think. It's about almost 8 hours from getting into up near Jamestown, past Erie, this side of Erie, crossing over, and then going on the Southern Tier Parkway, and then getting to where I live because of where I'm located in the Catskill Mountains. It's like 7 hours, maybe almost 8 if it was snowing. And I'll be darned, Warren would hang in there with me for the whole time, keep me company, and, just make you feel, and I remember one time I blew a wheel bearing. It didn't blow, the noise started, but it started in a weird way, really loud. Usually you start hearing it just grinding a little bit, yeah, and you got plenty of time, but I'm coming back, and all of a sudden it's going, and that's pretty discouraging when you're out, in western New York on the Southern Tier Parkway there. It's, you're alone. Yeah, I think it was like a Friday night, what were my chances of getting it replaced that night or anything? So, the 75-meter guys kind of kept me company. Chris JBL said, yeah, you relax, you got time, it's going to be okay. I was really starting to panic a little bit there. So, in regards to Warren on 630 meters, he helped me out a lot. When I first started, I was, of course, like any neophyte, I was making a lot of mistakes, and so he helped me cut through a lot of the growing pains that a lot of the guys had to go through, and that was a big help for me, and of course I worked him down there on 630 meters. And one final thing, and George, I'm sorry, I'll get it to you. I'm listening to all these great voices. I'm listening to Gordon's voice. I'm listening to your voice, Paul. I'm listening to Kevin's voice and just the other guys too, and I'm going, man, I wish I was born with a voice like this big, beautiful, present radio voice. Instead, I listen to my delivery. It's this neurotic, pinched Irish tenor that can't stay focused. The stream of consciousness takes over, and then I become Rain Man, and I'm just. I wish I had your guys' ability to the way you elocute and speak and the delivery. I listen to Kevin. Yeah, he sounds like he sounds on the radio here. That's just what he sounds like in person. Yeah, because I work with him. I wish I sounded like that. You too, George. You've got a good voice too. You gotta, I detect a slight downstate. For me being an upstate bumpkin, I just detect a slight downstate accent, but. I wish I had that voice instead of this horrible Irish tenor. N2LJO, this is N2VJ. Let me take it for a second.
Is that George?
Yes.
George HJK. Go ahead, George. Give it back to me.
Okay. Don't worry. Jamie. Your voice, believe it or not, lends itself to employment. And I'll have it reflected by others too as well. We all have our gifts, and believe it or not, I feel the same way. I wish I were sounding as I do with others listening. I am not, but I've come to realize we each have our gift, and you, by the way, Jamie, are very enjoyable to listen to. With that, please pick it up. WB2HJK on the side.
All right, George. Just wanted to make sure. Very good. Good morning to you. And yes, Jamie, a little bit of a downstate accent still shows up from time to time. It used to be much different. You know, I was born in Brooklyn, 35 years in Brooklyn. But you could take the boy out of Brooklyn. You can't take Brooklyn out of the boy. And I had a speech professor in college who guided me. She didn't hate the Brooklyn accent or anything, but she just said, you know, you're going to be in, I was getting my accounting degree, and you're going to be in a professional element, and you should try to brush it off a little bit. And I think the way you speak has a lot to do, excuse me, with whom you've been associating most recently and speaking with on a regular and consistent basis. You know, if I talk to more people from the city, then I'm more likely to talk like this, you know, and but I try to stay around it. I heard Chris talking about the overpasses on the Southern State Parkway, the infamous, alleged Robert Moses overpasses that allegedly were designed very low so that buses of minorities would not go out to Long Island, to Jones Beach and other places. I don't know if that was ever true. I know Moses had his hand in some other crappy things, but I don't know if that was really true. It was alleged. It's been an urban legend for a long time. Hello, Gordon. I only took one swing at HF in the car, and that was on one of my sojourns, my early sojourns up to Nearfest. Let's see, it must have been, I had a 2007.
Okay, well, we'll see. I'll just give it to Kerry and see if he's still there. Well, you got a lot of stuff in. Everybody knows you're on lower sideband if you're still there. Stay on sideband.
Let it sit while I was up there, and then put it back on, and the car had to relearn, the computer had to relearn how to shift on the way back. It was like 6 months old. So that was my one and only experience with HF in the Mobile. However, my good friend and built and designed, this was before he had a complete amazing metalworking shop. He built and designed an HF antenna. I mean, I'm going back 30 years. And his page, outdated as it is still up. So if anybody wants to look at what Mark built and designed, it's ka2qfx.github, G-I-T, like get out of here, github.io. And right on that front page, there's a picture of the antenna with a link to some more information on it. And I remember it worked very, very well. And he probably would not mind sharing his input or his design, whether you used it or discarded it or adapted it to fit what you want to do. It's probably worth a look. It looks like a bug catcher. So, but he also has a switch on there so you could change bands. I think it was for 20, 40, and 80. So check it out. I remember hearing him on in the Mobile, and it worked very well. That's all I got. Let me see if I've got it, George, and then George, and I guess goes back to Chris, I think. I don't think I missed anyone. And good morning, Paul. Oh, that was the other thing. You guys with the voices could be at Yankee Stadium. Now batting for the Yankees, Derek Jeter. Anyway, AJ1G in the group, and 2LJO.
Okay, George. Yeah, I just brought that antenna page up. Yeah, it's like a big bug catcher with the coil right about the height of the roof line. That's the first image I just started looking at. And Gordon, yeah, I think I gave you the wrong call sign for Matt Scott Sanders of Sherman Oaks, California, NQ6M, November, Quebec 6M. And the marquee photo on his QRZ page is apparently his ham shack / looks like a home studio, production studio. And so you guys are cut from the same cloth. But he said he also produced for Standing Wonder at some point out on the West Coast. Good morning, everybody, and Mark and Gordon and George and Kevin and a great group here in this morning. Yeah, Jamie, if you're going to put that many miles on it, the radio does help pass the time, and just don't go for perfection in performance. The dB per dollar and the dB per enjoyment. Keep it simple with some ham sticks on 40 and up. And
get his renewed. I saw his was coming up about a year ago, and
about the issues with wind loading and guy wires and people thinking you're a storm chaser. Although on my Volvo with the ham stick and a VHF whip, I remember some kids asked me if I was a cop because of I guess the gray gunmetal color of the Volvo and the antennas on it. But I never been asked if I was a storm chaser, that's for sure. And is that like CB, or what are those antennas for? You get those all the time. And of course, if you have the fishing rods there, all the fishermen come up and want to talk to you about fishing. And actually, yesterday I had a very cool situation happen when I was up at the power equipment shop getting my carburetor. As I had the truck with the AJ1G call sign, and this guy pulls next to me, and his call sign, or his license plate, Connecticut CQDX. This guy, and it turns out to be this guy Dave Malley, W1 MEV, I think, or EVM or something like that. He's from Bolton, and he's a big DXer. And that was pretty cool. I got a picture of the two vehicles parked side by side with the AJ1G and the CQDX call signs. But anyhow, what else? Paul, woke up Will Fleming. I'm going to get going here. It's time to get breakfast. I got to put that carburetor on a mower and get into leaf management for the rest of the day. They're pretty much about 90% down now, and I got carpets there to go rake up and blow up and suck up, and I want to get that mower going again. Yeah, everyone have a great day, and maybe we'll see you. Well, I'll be on the military net tomorrow morning. Where does it go? I forget where I turn it to. Maybe Kevin's probably long gone, but let me just turn over to him on the odd chance he's still there. K2XAM, AJ1G.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still here for a moment. I think this is going to be my final. And good morning to Mark. Boy, it's funny that you turn up in here. I think it was yesterday. I think Jamie said, "You know who we haven't heard on in a while?" And I'm like, who? It's like Mark. It's like, so here you are. And earlier this morning, I heard Doug. I haven't really gotten to talk to Doug in quite a while. I know we've talked very briefly, so I don't know, Doug, if you're still in listening mode. I heard you talking with George HJK very early when I had first dragged myself out here at about 6:15, running a little bit later than usual this morning. So yeah, great hearing everybody in here, but it is time for me to roll on down the hill. And I've never liked the sound of my voice. So back when I was in radio and when you started working at some semi-real stations, I won't say I ever worked at a real station, probably the most real station that I worked at was WJBQ up in Portland, Maine. If you're from New England and been in radio, you probably worked at least a shift at that station, and then a close second was WIGY, but it was on 105.9. Somebody grabbed those call letters and put it on a dumb little Bible beater somewhere, I think, up there. But the original WIGY was a contemporary hit radio station, and so those were probably the two most real stations that I ever worked for. And so you'd get called into the program director's office, once a week, and you had to bring all these cassette tapes with you, air check tapes, which, every time you turned the mic on, Paul knows this, whenever you turn the mic on, it starts recording on this cassette tape. And so he'd go through and critique, well, you did that break good, but that one could be better, and you should have done this instead of that. And they kind of, beat you over the head with a 2x4. And that sort of thing. But going through and listening to those tapes, I really never cared for the sound of my voice and so forth. So I don't know. Jamie, it just is what it is. You got to thank God every day that you can get up and talk and push the button and talk to somebody here on ham radio. So that's always a good thing. I'm not sure where it's supposed to go either, because I got in here kind of late, and my mind is a little more dyslexic, not very sharp yet, and so I'm probably sending it out of order, but I will turn it down to, I think, Mark, only because he may have limited time. He may have already signed out. And then, Mark, you can send it wherever you think it's supposed to go. Sorry I'm confusing the order, but you got to understand that my brain is like scrambled eggs at this point. So 7-3, and Mark, if you're still in here, pick it up. WC1X, K2XAM in the groove.
Too cheap cigar.
Okay, I hear a cheap cigar in there. I don't know if you could hear me. Okay, very good, Kevin. Yeah, nice to work you again. Yeah, the power suggestion reached all the way down to West Virginia, and that prompted me. You're discussing with Jamie or vice versa about me not being on, so there you go. It's happened more than once. But anyway, I'll keep it short. I'm losing propagation. I'm sure most folks are starting to lose propagation with me, except for maybe Paul, who's not very far away. But I'll listen out again. Don't know who it goes to, but I'll throw it out there, whoever can hear the station. 73s, everybody have a good day. This is WC1X, listening out.
All right, we'll see you later there, Mark. And the 22 degrees from yesterday morning is very convincingly cold. Let me see if I'm doubling. And hello to George there, too, N2LJO. I haven't talked with yet as the roundtable expanded and contracted. Yeah, I'm headed out here, too. Sun's coming up, signal's going down. I had a laugh, Jamie, at you characterizing your voice as a high Irish tenor that turns neurotic and sometimes into Rain Man. Don't you realize that with all those characterizations, you are illustrating how much range your voice can carry? The range of color that you can carry with that number of descriptors? Yeah, man, you got no problems. You're a great storyteller. And the tonal qualities or cadence or whatever other technical aspects of your voice you might critique, they aren't obscuring at all your wonderful ability to tell a story. And that's why it's so nice to hear you on. I just wanted to point that out. And yeah, Kevin, to your comment about air checks, yeah, I think the only thing worse than the program director or the general manager critiquing your performance is when the consultants would come in, or as Tim Tron famously invoked the word, insultants. I worked at a little radio station many years ago who it was owned by an individual, and there we were allowed to pretty much be ourselves, and we had a great presence in the community, little kilowatt daytime AM station, WLMD, and then it got sold to a group of investors who had absolutely no broadcast experience whatsoever. So they brought in a washed-up old has-been as the GM, and he hired insultants to critique our performance. Well, none of us were going to have any of this because we were doing just fine before that, including the presence in the community, which should be the test for any station trying to sell airtime. So most of us got out of there after that, and then the station folded, or went over to Spanish. I think they sold it to a Spanish owner. So yeah, that's the death knell for local radio, is to be critiqued by those who shouldn't be doing the critiquing. Anyway, I'll close on that point. It's been a nice conversation here this morning. Good hearing everybody. Gordon hasn't had it in a while. I know he was coming and going. And Chris on the antennas, yeah, I guess I pretty much commented on that. I've kind of lost the thread here because it's been jumping around a little bit. But Gordon, you may want to respond to the guy that is out in California there, who you may already know who it is. W2GOR, very good morning from Annapolis to everyone. This is WA3VJB, out of here for now.
Nothing heard from Gordon. Is that Bear that was talking about a cheap cigar? Maybe he's smoking a cheap cigar. I don't know if the veterinarian would approve.
I never know when it's my turn. And that order, Kevin, they sent the wrong order again. WB2GCR, not cheap cigar. I don't know, you guys have hearing problems.
Well, if it wasn't a cheap cigar, what kind of cigar was it then? BTVCR, it's XAM. I'm kind of on my way out of here, but I'm listening.
Well, it wasn't a Phillies. I'm trying to think. What was the brand? Dutch Masters. That's it.
I'll take the mic for a moment. I want to compliment each and every one of you for your inputs and typically making up the great AM morning that I enjoy. Thank you all of you. WB2 KKLB. Should we say on the side? 7-3-12. Thank you again.